On this episode of MythBusters,
Fire in the hole!
it's Wham, Bam, Thank You Fans. It's another Myths Revisited special,
No telling what might happen this time.
where you judge how the MythBusters have been conducting themselves. Were Adam and Jamie responsible for a trombone travesty?
That's just awesome.
Did the exploding hammers myth strike a low blow?
Whoa!
And we revisit two high-caliber myths, where you say the guys didn't aim up.
Oh, Jamie. Now we're talking.
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage
Ow, 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 ow.
and Jamie Heineman.
It's almost too exciting.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience.
Cue dramatic music.
Joining them, Carrie Byron,
That's gonna be so cool!
Grant Imahara,
Listen to that baby purr!
and Tori Belleci.
Paramedics are nowhere to be found.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. Yes, it's that time again. The MythBusters are going to answer their critics the only way they know how, by going back to the drawing board. And first on the chopping block, a myth that has long been a trombone of contention with fans.
Yeah, you know, we shot Mad Trombonist during season 1. That's the longest distance we've ever had between a myth and its revisit. What the heck did we get wrong?
There wasn't a trombonist.
Once upon a time, two fresh-faced fledgling MythBusters blew up some brass. The myth, a trombonist wants to put a bit more bang into the 1812 overture. So he fills his mute with firecrackers. When they go off, the force of the blast turns the trombone slide into a musical missile, which strikes the conductor and knocks him into the audience. But no matter how much black powder Jamie packed into that trombone, the slide wouldn't fly. When the smoke had cleared and the police had calmed down, Adam was adamant.
We have taken this myth absolutely to pieces. This is another rarity for us. Every aspect of it is completely impossible.
That left fans feeling brassed off, and they've been demanding an encore performance ever since. Only this time, they want to see a pair of lips pressed against the trombone's mouthpiece.
So how would a trombonist have made a difference?
The idea is that the trombonist's lips would seal the trombone more effectively, hence making the explosive propel the slide off the end of the trombone like a rocket.
Okay, that's good enough. You know, if we're gonna do this though, I think we should make sure we can put it way to bed. Let's put a pair of lips behind the mouthpiece, but if that doesn't work, let's make a mouthpiece that we weld shut.
Sure.
Okay, so according to you guys, having someone's mouth pressed against the trombone will make it a sealed system. Expanding gases from the explosion will no longer be able to escape through the mouthpiece. They'll have nowhere to go but through that slide. Right, you asked for it. Adam and Jamie are going to take it again from the top.
Look at all those trumpets.
Did you play the trumpet?
No.
Weren't you a bugler in the Civil War?
Once again, the guys go trawling for trombones. Second hand, of course.
Perfect.
They also need some mouthpieces. And some mutes.
Unfortunately, this is the last note this trombone will ever play.
Trust Adam to turn a trombone into an instrument of torture. Question is, will they still be able to blow their own trumpet when this revisit's done?
Finger in a barrel. I knew we were gonna have to revisit this one. That's the one where a gun barrel can explode into a banana peel, just like in the cartoons.
This one's well worth a revisit, if only so we can catch up with our friends, the Mythtoons. They're a gun barrel of laughs. When our familiar foes come face to face, there's plenty of animated animosity. But instead of saying his prayers, our cheeky red-haired rodent forces his finger into the barrel, and the hunter's best-laid plans backfire big time. The MythBusters tried to get the same result in real life. They took modern rifles and plugged ballistics gel fingers into the barrels. The bullets won, hands down.
Look at the very tip of the barrel.
Darned.
And while they got one or two bulges in their barrels, nothing could trigger that famous cartoon banana peel.
I don't want to count our chickens before they hatch, but I think we may end up revisiting this one.
Well, Adam, those chickens have now hatched, and they're coming home to roost. Since busting the myth, fans have been firing a volley of suggestions.
First, we should try this. It's an older gun with a Damascus barrel.
And what is that?
Well, up until the 20th century, they were making Damascus barrels, and that's where they would take alternate strips of steel and iron, twist it around a rod, and then weld it together. So it wasn't one piece of metal.
Okay, so let's get that straight. A Damascus barrel was made by taking strips of iron and steel and welding them together. According to fans, those weld points weaken the structure, and if the barrel is blocked, they'll give us our cartoon peel back.
Oh, it looks like I need to go dig out the hand molds we used last time.
And I'll work on a remote trigger because if this does indeed work, it could very well explode.
While the guys get to work, let's revisit the science behind this cartoon caper. Pull the trigger of a gun and there's a small explosion. The expanding gases propel the bullet through and out the barrel. Block the barrel, however, and the gas has nowhere to escape. The pressure builds and gun ruptures. Some fans might rupture too when they see what the MythBusters are going to do with this collector's item.
Boy, you better marry my daughter.
This 10-gauge shotgun had both barrels fashioned Damascus style.
This one was made in 1877, so it's an antique. And we're gonna destroy it.
Grant mounts the shotgun on Jamie's special rifle rig and wires up a remote trigger.
I have a radio control system that transmits a wireless signal to the receiver. The receiver sends a control signal to the servo. It's going to turn the head of the servo, which pulls a string. The string goes around the trigger and is captured on the other side by a hose clamp, and then that fires the gun. 3, 2, 1. There you go.
Meanwhile, you gotta hand it to Carrie. She's got hand making down pat.
So here we have a ballistics gel hand with a skeleton cast inside. It's been sitting up overnight, and the nervous part is over because it came out of the mold and looks all right.
Out in the MythBusters' purpose-built bunker, the rifle rig is screwed down, and Carrie fits the finger into the Damascus barrel.
Another thing that I read off the message board was people were complaining that we didn't have a skin layer on the outside of our ballistics gel. So I've been recommended to use a finger from a glove to create a skin layer, which will make an extra seal. Here we go. One skin layer, an extra bit of authenticity, and at least one audience member, if not many, much more satisfied with our result.
Hey, Al.
Overseeing the experiment, firearms specialist Sergeant Alan Normandy. He always rides shotgun when the guys go busting gun myths.
So we have the shotgun set up. What kind of ammo are we using today?
Well, today we're going to go with maximum power, so we're going with a 3.5-inch Magnum 10-gauge rifled slug.
That's a big bullet.
It's a big shell.
It's the first round this museum piece has seen in quite a while.
This shotgun is absolutely unsafe with modern ammunition.
Fantastic!
All right.
Tori, Carrie, and Grant are revisiting the finger in the barrel myth. Fans say this antique shotgun with its old-fashioned welded Damascus barrel will give them a result worthy of Toontown.
In 3, 2, 1.
Oh, wow!
Hey, we got something.
The hand's gone.
Dang, I think the gun's ruined.
That's pretty good. It's better than what we got last time.
First time round, all they got was a little barrel bone. This time, the Damascus barrel's torn open and peeled back like cardboard. That's a better result, but it's still not the full banana. And unlike the cartoons, the guy who pulled the trigger still has a face.
Our shooter doesn't look harmed at all.
But the guy with the finger, a little worse for wear, wouldn't you say?
Not so good.
It's obvious a flesh and bone finger isn't strong enough to cause a barrel to explode. So, Tori wants to take a slight detour on the road to Damascus barrel busting.
I found this piece of steel. It fits perfectly in the barrel, like so. I'm just gonna cut off a little piece, and then I'm gonna sculpt it to look like a finger, just because I can.
Being the model maker that he is, Tori is pretty handy at making a finger.
And there's my steel finger.
Tori, that needs to go into another orifice. Thank you.
I am gonna weld in the steel finger that I made into the good barrel. This way, we're sure that it's not gonna pop out when we take a shot.
The barrel is now well and truly blocked. Back in the bunker, the shotgun is remounted. And Carrie loads another shell.
Okay, we're hot.
We're set for a cartoon catastrophe.
Fire in the hole! 3, 2, 1!
The shotgun suddenly becomes a sawn-off.
That's not a banana peel. That's like loss of tip.
That just total shattered the end off.
But where's the finger?
The end is gone.
We wrecked the gun.
Steel finger,
Gone.
gone.
All right, well, we'll find the finger later.
Our hirsute hunter has suffered no ill effects, but the Damascus is done for.
So in our second test with the steel plug welded into the Damascus barrel, we didn't get any banana peeling effect. Now this piece may look like it's a banana peel, but it's not actually a part of the barrel. This is just a detailed piece that goes between the two barrels of this double-barreled shotgun.
Once again, the finger myth gets the thumbs down. It's a musical mishap that could have come straight from the golden age of slapstick. Can a mute full of fireworks turn a trombone slide into a musical missile? For this raucous recital, Adam and Jamie are off to the Alameda County bomb range. Look at this. Isn't this so MythBusters? Jamie's truck flanked by the bomb squad and the paramedics. Just like last time, Buster the conductor will have to face the music. He'll be propped up on a simple metal frame. Should he be buffeted by flying brass, he'll topple backwards. Now he just has to dress for the occasion. Hey, Buster, that suit's a nice, cut.
Butt's too big.
Last time they tried this, the trombone was on its own. This time, crucially, they've got a bust of Grant puckering up behind the mouthpiece.
This is ballistics material. It's got the same consistency as human flesh, human muscle tissue. That's behind this mouthpiece. He is snugged there. That is a committed trombonist behind this mouthpiece.
To make sure that the slide can launch smoothly, Jamie takes out his handy tube of lube and goes to work. And we suddenly find out yet another startling fact about his past.
The only time I had any kind of band instrument experience was I got a hold of an old tuba, so I mounted it in the bathroom when I was a teenager, and you could sit on the toilet and everybody in the house knew what was going on.
That's unique.
Hold it. At this point, there are so many one-liners, my brain's about to explode. Stuff about movements, bum notes, crotchets, and wind. Oh, no! Oh, okay, better now. while we try to wipe from our minds the image of the Heinemann Cistern Symphony, let's take stock.
Here is a disgruntled or very ambitious trombone player. He's decided during the 1812 overture to fill his mute with explosives for the finale. He fills them with explosives, they blow up, they send his slide shooting all the way towards the conductor, boom, who falls backwards and into the audience. That's the myth.
With the bomb squad supervising, the mute is packed with black powder and loaded into the trombone bell. Places, please, everybody. We're ready to strike up the band.
Good to go. This is Mad Trombonist. Lips behind the mouthpiece revisit in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I can see the slide moved a little bit.
Just a little.
I'm having the most shocking sense of deja vu.
The high speed shows the mute flying from the trombone like shiny shrapnel and bouncing off Buster's cranium. But he remains unmoved. And as for the trombone slide, well, it's still firmly attached to the instrument.
The trombonist's lips don't seem worse for wear, but I don't think they made much of a difference.
In the name of due diligence, and because they love blowing stuff up, the guys reset for a reprise. This time, Jamie doubles the amount of black powder.
That's perfect.
This mute is going to be anything but.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The music's on fire.
Now that's a finale.
In the aftermath of the second bomb trombone, it seems the MythBusters might have settled an old score with the fans.
Again, just like the last one, we can see the shockwave in the bell, and the slide didn't come off.
That's about the only thing that didn't suffer with this one, is the slide,
It didn't even knock the baton from his hand.
which is barely hanging there.
This musical myth is looking more busted than Pete Townshend's guitar. Or is it?
I think there's one last thing we could do to put this to bed once and for all, and that would be to take our second backup trombone and solder or weld the mouthpiece so that no air can escape from it.
Okay.
Not just count on the lips, but make a complete blockage there and see if that works.
If you say so.
Try and have some enthusiasm, Jamie.
Don't believe the cartoons, friends. Shoving your finger in the barrel of a gun won't make the gun explode. Your hand, however, will.
The guy with the finger. A little worse for wear, wouldn't you say?
Not so good.
But that's not all, folks. Having busted the myth a second time, the MythBusters now want to find out what will make a barrel bend back like a banana peel.
That's like loss of tip.
And the fans have a surefire suggestion.
So next test is somebody was shooting a 30-06 with the bore sighter still in the barrel, and that thing ripped to shreds.
I'm extremely familiar with the pictures of that. I have had so many emails sent to my inbox going, look, banana peel.
We got the same exact gun that happened with, so we're gonna set that up and try it the same way.
I really want to find out if that's real.
Do these photos show a real deal peel? Are they smoking gun evidence? The MythBusters have their sights set on finding out.
With the bore sighter, you put it in, you turn on the laser, and where the laser goes, that's where the bullet should go. Then you get your scope, and you put your crosshairs on that laser point.
Of course, you're supposed to take the bore sighter out of the barrel before pulling the trigger, something our unfortunate marksman apparently forgot to do. Sergeant Normandy's got a theory as to how this scenario might work.
Perhaps the little rubber gaskets on the bore sighter create such an adequate seal on what is a fairly small diameter for the bullet that it creates so much pressure in the barrel that it blows it up.
Containment, combustion, explosion.
Exactly.
Okay, then let's see.
Okay, we are loaded.
They've got a brand new 30-06 hunting rifle with a bore sighter stuck in the barrel.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, what the heck?
bullet catcher and hit the light.
Oh, wait a minute. We got a split.
Did we?
Yeah, it split the barrel.
Wow.
That's about a 3-inch split. The barrel's separated from the stock. The bore cider's in bits, but still no banana peel.
Well, I'm feeling like it is possible. I mean, we have never gotten any kind of damage like this before where it's actually splitting down the length of the barrel.
Think about it. This has got to be a 1 in a million shot to create that banana peel effect. We've got a crack up the barrel. We've got the stock separated. I mean, under the perfect circumstances, that photo could be that 1 in a million shot.
Also, we don't know what the age of the gun was, what kind of abuse it might have gone through. This is a brand new gun.
That's a totally valid point. It's like he could have had that gun for years and it was already stressed. That's a great point.
All right, so I guess we call this one plausible.
Plausible.
I agree.
From one firearm myth to another that made fans fume.
Sniper scope revisit?
Yeah, I am very pleased that we found some things to retest in this one, because personally, I don't really enjoy making snipers angry.
Is that why you're wearing this thing?
Yes, it is. So, what exactly did we get wrong on the first try?
Well, according to some viewers, we used the wrong rifle and/or the wrong scope.
Oh, is that all?
This myth goes back to Vietnam. The story goes that U.S. Marine sniper Carlos Hathcock took out his VC counterpart with a single shot straight down the scope. But when Adam and Jamie scored direct hits on scope after scope, the bullets never made it all the way through, leading Adam to conclude,
We don't have the scope that Gunny Hathcock shot at, so we can't know for sure. I say we have to call this myth busted.
fans went, well, ballistic.
So what was wrong with the scope?
Well, fans say that we were not using a period scope, which apparently has a lot fewer glass elements than a modern scope, and thus, by extension, should be easier to get through with a bullet.
Okay. What about the ammo?
Yeah, well, it turns out that the modern ammo we used, while very accurate, is designed much more efficiently to kill than the period ammo, which means it breaks up much faster. That we got a letter saying the period ammo would have made it through more glass than modern ammo.
It was a harder bullet.
Yes.
Okay, let's see how the MythBusters aim up this time.
Did that sit there like that?
Fresh from helping out with Finger in a Barrel, Sergeant Alan Normandy will once again be calling the shots.
According to photographic evidence, this is the exact same model of rifle that Gunnery Sergeant Hathcock would have been firing against. Exact same rifle, exact same mount, exact same scope. This is not a replica rifle. This is an actual period gun.
It looks like there's some Russian writing on here. You want to see if you can translate?
There's Russian writing on the rifle. Lucky Jamie studied Russian literature.
Первое сооружение заводе СССР в Туле 1928. So it means that it was made in 1928, and it was the first issue of the factory, I believe.
Alan's also scoped out a bunch of period-correct scopes. Put next to their modern counterparts, you can see that size does matter.
You can see that there's a size difference. There's not much of a difference in functionality. There's between 6 and 8 elements in each of these scopes. The light is moving similarly through them, but the lenses in this one are much bigger, which means they're much fatter. There's a lot more glass for the bullet to get through. There's a lot less glass for the bullet to get through in this scope.
Last time, the bullets were hitting the modern scope dead on, but were deflected by the heavy-duty lenses inside. That shouldn't be a problem with this scope.
If we can't fire through this scope, this myth is busted.
Grant's ballistic bust is on another tour of duty, this time as the sniper. His rifle and scope setup is authentic, exactly what Sergeant Hathcock's enemy target would have been using.
For this test, we're going to use this 30-06 rifle with an original 1968 vintage M72 173 grain round. This is the actual type of round that Gunny Hathcock would have used in his rifle.
30-06, 173 grain. This is a solid, full metal jacket round.
We've seen what these 30-06 bullets do several times in the past, and we know that For example, this bullet right here will go through 2 thicknesses of the ballistics glass that we use to protect ourselves here. These really are powerful bullets.
Jamie prepares to replicate Sergeant Hathcock's killer shot.
Deep breath, let it surprise you.
Dude. Oh, man.
How'd I do?
Well, we obliterated the scope mount for one. That's what I can see from here. I think we wasted a little energy on some of the metal.
Jamie was just off target. The bullet didn't make it through the scope. Instead, it smashed the casing. Our sniper's still a clear and present danger. It looks like the old scope isn't as easy to penetrate as first thought.
It may seem like the period scope has less glass to penetrate, and it probably does, but here's the catch. The period scope has a metal ring that's actually quite thick that the bullet has to push all that glass through to get to the other side. It's a little more difficult than it might seem.
Adam's solution is typically straightforward.
I don't know. I'm starting to think that we should just place this thing at point blank for the highest percentage of just seeing what the bullet will do.
I'm all for it.
But Jamie doesn't agree. He thinks Adam's taking a pot shot at his aiming ability. And soon our science-loving snipers are sniping at each other.
I was pretty centered. I just need to move it up a little bit. I don't like to change the variables every time we redo a test here.
Well, I wasn't trying to change variables. I was trying to eliminate them.
Well, by moving the desk closer, we kind of like
By
having...
moving it all the way up to the barrel is kissing the thing, that's just removing the variable of aim. If you want to keep working with the variable of aim, I'm happy to.
Okay.
Jamie sets for a second shot.
Making ready for live fire.
He adjusts his aim just a fraction. And another 30-06 round thunders into the sniper's scope.
That looked like a good shot. Well, the glass is all obliterated. That's one good sign.
Adam admits admiration.
Well, that was a good shot, Jamie. That made it all the way through. The question is that our bullet?
Sure looks like it to me.
Really? Oh, yeah, there's the copper.
It melted some of the glass with some of the heat exchange.
Wow.
So that's definitely copper.
The bullet blasted straight through the scope, but somehow stopped before Sniper Grant's beady eye.
The bullet made it all the way through and obliterated the glass, but it still was just sitting right there.
Yep. Our little guy here is not happy at all, but he's not dead.
The period scope plus the period rifle and the period ammo all made significant differences, but I still want to call this one busted.
What do you think, Al?
I'm not ready to call it over just yet. I got one little trick up my sleeve. USGI 30-06 armor-piercing ammunition.
Let's do it.
Now, the next myth ripe for revisiting is one I don't quite remember. Can a hammerhead really explode? Oh, that type of hammerhead. Got it. Sorry.
You know what? It's always the little ones. You think you've tested them thoroughly, but the fans, they still complain about it. It's exploding hammer.
Oh, you know, I really thought we nailed that one.
I think we did too, but the people disagree.
Why?
Why don't we let the narrator explain?
Oh, okay then. Well, see, it all started when Jamie innocently used one hammer to bang another. "Don't do that," fans exclaimed. "A hammer can explode if struck by another hammer." Well, of course, that sparked a frenzy of flailing tools as the MythBusters tried to blow a hammer sky high without success.
Looks like the handle's bent, but no shattering.
But according to fans, they got one or two things wrong. For a start, the modern hammers they tested were too soft. And when they fired up the homemade forge to try and harden a hammer, they didn't get the temperature right. Nag, nag, nag. And to top it all off, the anvil they used wasn't a real anvil.
What?
It was what blacksmiths call an asso, or anvil-shaped object.
So it looks like we need to get some pre-World War II hammers, some modern-day hammers that we can get all the way to transition temperature and then quenched, and finally, I think we need to get ourselves a real anvil.
Sounds like another trip to the blacksmith.
You got it.
So the guys are going to take another swing at this one. First, they'll take 2 modern commercial hammers, have them super hardened by a blacksmith, and see if it's crunch time.
Whoa!
Then they'll try it with antique, work-hardened hammers.
Let's see if fans are right.
And finally, they'll put the antique tools up against a real anvil. Now, last time around, Tori put together a top hammer-swinging rig,
Like Compilamo.
It'll be like blood down.
which he promptly destroyed after the myth had been busted.
We need the hammer rig. Unfortunately, I've chopped it up and turned it into a chop saw table. You'd think we would learn.
While Tori puts the rig back together, Carrie and Grant are off to forge a relationship with a blacksmith.
You even look like a blacksmith. Amazing.
Well, thank you.
As president of the California Blacksmithing Association, Herb Upham knows a thing or two about swinging steel.
See here where a rather large piece has broken free from the top and has probably flown off at nearly the speed of sound.
Really?
Really.
Are you serious? The speed of sound.
The speed of sound.
And he has 1 or 2 hammer horror stories.
The chip flew off the hammer head and cut the artery in their left arm.
Oh my God. So, what happened?
They needed some immediate first aid because the artery where it was severed was squirting blood directly out of their arm.
Modern hammers are a blend of metals, including tungsten and chrome, which softens the tool, making it less likely to chip and shatter. To make a hammer harder, you heat it to the point where the metal loses its magnetism. That's called the transition temperature. Then, when the steel cools, it's harder, and so the theory goes, more likely to shatter. Now, the MythBusters tried this last time, but their homemade forge just wasn't hot enough. Herb's propane-fueled forge is a different beast.
Herb, that's like the easy bake oven from hell.
Yes, it will toast your waffles to almost 3,000 degrees.
The brand new hammers are given the heat treatment, and when they no longer hold any attraction for a magnet, they're quickly cooled.
This hammer is now as hard as it's ever going to get.
All right.
But has the process made it any more shatter-prone?
It's in the danger zone. This, if you struck it or hit it on something, it would have a very high likelihood of shards coming off, shattering, and doing some real damage.
Great.
Excellent. Danger.
We'll take 2.
Back at Hammer headquarters, Tori's reassembled the rig. It's powered by compressed air and a pair of pneumatic actuators.
In 3, 2, 1.
Yes, it works!
Out in the blast chamber, it's hammer time.
The bang of the bang of the bang of the...
Herb's heat-treated modern hammers are about to swing. If the fans are right, we should be in for a smashing time.
I'm gonna attach them to the rig closer to the head, so that way there's no chance of bending. All that energy will take place at the hammerheads.
First time round, the guys worked out that a top human hammer swing hits with a force of around 50 pounds per square inch. 50 psi works out to be 795 inch-pounds of torque. Will that be enough to make those hammers explode?
We should probably define what an explosion is before we do this test.
Did you see the Death Star when it went out? I want to see that, but like it's a hammer.
We want a shattering of hammerheads.
We want it to look like it was made of rock candy.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Whoa! We broke off the handle.
Yeah.
Well, it busted, but it didn't explode.
No, in fact, there's no damage to the head.
If these hardened hammers won't explode, there's no way a hardware store hammer is going to even think about going west.
These are modern hammers with modern alloys that are specifically made not to shatter. They're made not to break into pieces. I mean, they're extra hardened. So if it's not going to happen with our hardened hammers, it's not going to happen with a modern hammer.
High five.
Don't get too cocky, guys. You might have hammered home the point on the modern tools, but antiques and anvils are still waiting in the wings. Adam and Jamie have one last shot at shooting a sniper through his scope. And they're going to take it using armor-piercing ammunition. This bullet has a tungsten carbide core. It's designed to drill through quarter-inch steel plate without fragmenting. They're down to their last scope. Jamie will have to be right on target. They stick a dot to the dummy's eye, so any damage will show up clearly.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You feeling good? You gonna make the shot?
Yeah.
It's make or break for this myth.
Deep breath on the exhale, squeeze slowly.
Jamie gets a bead on the enemy's eyepiece.
You took his wig off. Whoa! Oh, Jamie!
Now we're talking.
Jamie's pulled off the perfect shot.
That hole is right down the middle of the scope. It couldn't be any cleaner than that.
I see a disintegrated dot with maybe a hole in the middle.
But what happened to the bullet? It's not amongst the scope debris, and there's no exit wound in the dummy.
Hole in the back of the head.
I gotta say, that's worth looking into. I think we should take it back to the shop, cut it open, do a real autopsy, see if there's a bullet in him.
Okay.
I'm driving.
They heft the head back to HQ. And with absolutely no surgical precision whatsoever,
Good, we're getting in there. That's good.
Adam carves himself a wedge.
All right, I'm gonna cut this chunk out.
I mean, don't let this guy near your fresh-baked apple pie.
Okay. Hey, look at that. That looks like debris a good 2 inches into the sniper's eye.
Sure enough, like an insect trapped in amber, the bullet is buried in the gel.
Well, gee, that looks like a bullet.
And that means the fans have scored a direct hit.
Well, that's definitive. This bullet made it all the way through one of these scopes and in far enough to be a kill. That's a plausible myth.
Yep, he's dead. Fans were right.
I'm really glad that we no longer have to worry about a 3,000-yard restraining order against angry sniper fans.
The MythBusters have shown that a modern hammer, even a heat-treated one, isn't about to explode in the user's face.
There's no damage to the head.
So Jamie was never in any real danger. But what if our berate banger had been using historic hammers? Before World War II, hammers were fashioned from straight steel. Theoretically, the high carbon content makes them more brittle and therefore more likely to explode on impact. Tori takes the heads of 2 antique tools and welds them onto the swing and rig.
This next test should address 2 issues. One, pre-World War II hammers, which means they should have a higher carbon content. And secondly, they are seriously work hardened. Blacksmith work hardened, not just our shop work hardened.
Let's see if the fans are right.
And 3, 2, 1.
The hammers go head to head.
Oh, that was a massive hit.
But apparently, even old hammers die hard.
Obviously, neither of these exploded.
No.
Not even a chip.
No.
Not content with sending an email, one blacksmith named Dorothy has actually sent in some pre-World War II hammers for the guys to test. She's sure her antique tools will give the guys their big break.
These have been work hardened over many years, and she's actually retired them because she feels they're too unsafe.
Are these modern alloy hammers or are these pre-World War II?
These are old hammers.
They're ready to go.
All right.
So are we.
Here we go. Oh wait, I don't need this.
Don't worry, Grant.
Never can be too safe.
All right. In 3, 2, 1. Whoa! Well,
Nah.
It looked like they hit right on the face.
Oh yeah.
And what do you know? One of Dorothy's retired tools has given this myth its best crack at success.
It's a chip and a crack.
Yeah, that's not bad.
She wasn't lying. They're ready to go.
Surely, if it's subjected to a second blow straight away, it'll shatter like honeycomb.
You know, this is probably our best chance of getting an exploding hammerhead.
That's true. There's got some serious fissures and weaknesses in there.
Yep, this is it.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
That hammer's lost its head, but still, no explosive shattering.
I mean, if you hit a hammer and you saw a crack like that, you would obviously stop using it.
Absolutely.
You ready?
Yeah.
Tori, Carrie, and Grant are still trying to make a hammer explode. They've really been putting their heads together. But to date, their best result has been a single fracture.
I think that does it for hammer versus hammer.
Yeah.
Maybe, Grant, but fans want one more test. Hammer versus anvil. And they want to see a real anvil this time, not the lightweight copy you tried to pass off in the original story.
This is 260 pounds worth of heat-treated tool steel that is a real anvil.
Now they're looking for a way to slam a hammer down on it. The sharpest tool in the shed's been struck by an idea.
Decapitation hazard, everybody.
This powerful rotating rig was once used to cut a sword with a sword.
What I need to do is rotate it 90 degrees, so that way, instead of doing this, the rig will do this.
This new hammer-heaving hunk of metal will also be powered by compressed air.
The really good thing about it is that it can be scaled up. We can start out at human pressure, but then it has the ability, thanks to the huge actuator, to go to superhuman strength.
Tori attaches an antique hammer. Remember, the older and more work-hardened the tool, the harder and more brittle the steel.
All right, you guys ready?
In 3, 2, 1. Does that look like anything happened?
Hammer hits anvil with maximum human force, 795 inch-pounds of torque.
Holy crap. There's a huge crack in the head of this. It's very faint, but you can see right along there is a hairline crack.
Maybe, but there are no chips, no steel shards, and definitely no explosion.
All right, let's wrap it up. Superhuman strength? You got it.
Grant ups the air pressure to 100 psi. The rig will now deliver more than 1,500 inch-pounds of torque.
Way faster, way stronger than any human could possibly swing a hammer. 3, 2, 1.
The god of thunder himself couldn't have connected any harder.
Well, the head didn't explode.
Yep, that was a massive hit.
I thought that was going to be it. I mean, we took every single factor into account. Work hardened, pre-World War II, real anvil,
Nice.
superhuman strength.
Do you want to stop talking for a sec? Look at that. It opened the crack up bigger.
That is no chip even. That's not an explosive shattering. I would have thought this would have done it.
Time to down tools, people. This myth has gone under the hammer.
I feel like we really busted this one the first time, and I think that still stands.
I totally agree. Hammerheads will not explode if you hit them against each other or on an anvil, whether the anvil's real or not.
Yeah, and we've never denied that the chips can fly off the hammer, and those chips can be extremely dangerous and potentially lethal, as we've heard in some cases. But as far as an explosive shattering, it's just not going to happen.
Adam and Jamie have blown the whistle on the mad trombonist myth. Now they're orchestrating what they hope will be a fitting finale.
One last thing we could do to put this to bed once and for all, and that would be to take our second backup trombone and solder or weld the mouthpiece so that no air can escape from it.
Our mustachioed maestro takes their one remaining mouthpiece and with all the delicate skill of a good drummer, bashes a bolt of metal into it.
What I've done is plug this up physically, and we're going to actually solder it into the end of the trombone, so there's no other way for the gas to escape other than through the slide.
Then Adam takes over with solder and flame.
I put a bolt in there and it's solid solder. And it's soldered right into the body of the trombone. This mouthpiece and this trombone never shall be rent asunder again.
The trombone is now sealed shut. Will that be enough to give the fans the result they're looking for?
Good to go.
Adam's mug is looking smug.
I do think it is part of due diligence to put this thing to bed, but I don't think it's going to do anything. It's not going to send this slide out towards Buster. Just no way.
Bold as brass, isn't he? All right, let's see what happens.
This is Mad Trombonist, final test, final revisit, welded shut mouthpiece in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, the trombonist's down and Buster hasn't budged. But hang on a cotton-picking minute.
The slide came off our trombone.
Where'd it go?
Jamie, it's up there, dude.
That's right, a full 70 feet away on the side of a hill.
Only on MythBusters.
Well, there's a lot of people cheering at their television sets right about now. I was all arrogant and saying, no, it's not gonna work. This is just stupid. I can't believe we're doing this.
That's right, he did say that.
It's not gonna send this slide out towards Buster. Just no way.
The slide took off like a Stinger missile, somehow missing our conductor altogether, but probably knocking out the doorman.
Well, that's it. It definitely did leave during the explosion. Go right past Buster. You know, it's weird having a job where you really like being wrong.
That's true.
But, I mean, that's just awesome.
But despite that spectacular result, the guys aren't about to change their tune.
This doesn't change the status of the myth. We've already shown that a person whose lips are basically tied to the mouthpiece didn't put enough back pressure to cause the same result. So only if you had a metal person whose metal lips were welded to the mouthpiece would you have had the same result. It's still busted.
But it goes to show the fans are right to make overtures if they think the MythBusters are off-key.
Based on what I've seen, the complaint the fans had about our diligence the first time we did this test seems to be correct.
Well, I still gotta say the myth is busted.
Oh, no doubt. I still put this easily in the busted category, but I am very pleased to see that the fans' concept and theory about the reason this slide could have left is actually correct.
Yeah, well, we're done.
All right.
Coming up, MythBusters Revisited.
We answer our critics and do it again.
It's a wild ride as the MythBusters jump headlong into challenging their detractors.
Does anyone else have any suggestions?
Was plywood builder a balsa? Did exploding gas tank drive you nuts? How about exploding cola? Air conditioning, or even walking in the rain? And did blown away fall flat? If you were one of the critics, the MythBusters are going to take you on.
It's payback time and payback's in...
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage?
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
And Jamie Heineman.
We're either gonna die or we're gonna fly.
Between them, more than 30 years special effects experience.
That was intense.
They don't just tell the myths, They put them to the test.
You know, one of the things that I appreciate most about this show that's different than a lot of other shows on television is that we're willing to go back to something we've done and say we screwed it up.
You bet.
The revisit episodes are among my favorite ones ever.
So what's up next?
The first one is Blown Away.
So what on earth did we get wrong with Blown Away?
Does being shot really throw you back through the air? Not according to the MythBusters. But some viewers disagreed. The first time round, because both the pig and Buster were hung from a hook, their center of gravity was not like a human. They should have been supported around their chest. Even though the MythBusters showed how to do the blown away effect, some fans were unconvinced.
So how are we going to set this one right?
Well, we need to come up with a different rig that will support the body more on its center of gravity. So I think we should get Tori to arrange that, and you know, it shouldn't be that hard.
I think we should also go to the new biggest gun we've found we have access to, and this time shoot him with a .50 caliber.
Yeah, if that won't do it, then nothing's gonna.
Well, an RPG would, but this myth is about more conventional shootings. First, the build team has got to make a center of gravity rig for Buster.
We're all skin and bones.
Tori and Grant are going to recycle the previous rig, but support Buster in a different way.
I'm going to extend a bar from his chest out to the original pig rig, and that any amount of pressure would knock him back.
Buster will now be supported at his chest, exactly where he'll get shot. This means all the bullet's energy will be transferred into blowing him away.
Okay, now the question is, how much force is it going to take to get him off of there?
The team need to prove that only a minimal force will knock him off. Because if a tiny force can make him fall down, then a powerful bullet should send him flying back.
You're going to throw him over with a glove. Okay, try not to hurt him. That was rad. Maybe you should use both gloves.
If the glove fits, throw it.
Okay, wow.
He needs something a little heavier, like a bolt from the blue.
Across the shot. That's what that one's got. Good shot.
The gloves are off, so Tori opts for a baseball instead.
Yeah! That's it.
It's strike 3 for Buster.
I just tested the rig. If I was able to knock the dummy off with a baseball, a bullet is going to have that much more force. It should be able to knock it off, and then we'll be able to see if it knocks it 6 feet back.
Now, Buster's got a date on the range, and he needs to look his best. So, Tori makes him a new head, while Carrie carves out a bulletproof plate. The impenetrable steel will ensure that the bullet's full kinetic energy will be transferred to Buster, and maybe knock him back.
If we manage to capture all of the bullet's energy on this plate and Buster still doesn't get blown back, I think that we can positively say that this myth is completely and totally busted.
And at the Alameda County firing range, it's time to put that to the test once and for all. Buster gets ready to stare down the barrel. Just like last time, he'll be shot from 22 feet. That's the average distance for a fatal shooting. With Buster on the frame, it's time for a quick demonstration.
Just go ahead and try to hit the dummy with the ball.
That was the slow ball.
All right. Why don't you try?
Okay.
It was the Belleci fastball.
Strike 1.
It looked to me like that just knocked him straight down. You
And
actually
that's-
levered against his neck and he went kind of dropped.
But that's perfect. I mean, that's what this whole rig is designed to do.
But Buster's not happy.
You guys have f***ed me long enough.
Buster's on a
It's
rampage.
payback
It's
time.
payback time, and payback's a...
Forget Hannibal Lecter. An angry buster is what nightmares are made of.
You know, what's funny is that when you put this on, you can smell, and you get all these sense memories of blowing them up and dropping them off a cliff, and there's little salt water, a little rotting pig. It's like a trip down memory lane. You want to try?
No, thanks.
Yeah.
Before Buster faces the firing squad, he first needs his bulletproof vest. He's ready to take one for the team. And first up, it's the shotgun.
Okay, 12 gauge deer slug at 20 feet. And 3, 2, 1.
His head came off.
Well, he'd certainly be dead, but a Hollywood special this wasn't.
He didn't fly back 6 feet.
No, he just crumpled.
He just fell right where he was.
I mean, his feet are still exactly where they were.
Yeah.
Except one leg is broken.
Broken leg is the least of his worries, as the high speed shows.
See the bullet hitting? I can see him sliding off the rig, and he's moving backwards maybe an inch. This is exactly what we saw the last time we did this test.
He just got shot, that's it.
This is the deer slug with the rig in the center of his gravity, just as we've been asked to do, busted. Let's move to the 50 cal.
But before the dreaded 50 caliber, the MythBusters have a rather rainy revisit.
So running in the rain. What could they say we got wrong on that one?
The problem apparently is that we didn't use real rain.
When Adam and Jamie first got soaked for science,
Feel kind of sexy.
they used artificial rain. And their results were surprising. Over a set distance, you get wetter in the rain if you run. But viewers weren't happy. The rain was all wrong.
I guess we could answer this by waiting for a rainstorm and doing the test again, maybe even doubling the length of the walking and running course, and run 3 times and walk 3 times and see what the data says.
First things first, it's those fetish fantasies. Time for the boys to rubber up.
Jamie feels really sexy when it's wears it all the time on the weekends. I've come into the shop when he doesn't know anyone's here. It's like, prancing around. It's amazing.
Suited up, they're ready for the rain, and to start, they're going to walk. Just like in the original test, they've weighed their overalls when dry and will weigh them again after their soaking saunter to see how much rainwater they've absorbed. And this time, they're also doing the same with their caps.
It's getting kind of wet.
The rubber suits prevent their own sweat from contaminating the results.
Okay, whenever you take it off, just stick it right in.
Adam's sodden suit gained 20 grams. Next up, it's convict look-alike Jamie. To silence their critics, the MythBusters keep walking the walk. It's all going swimmingly. But just when they're about to run, disaster strikes. The rain stops and the sun comes out to spoil this myth, at least for now. The whimsical weather has scuppered the MythBusters run versus walk revisit.
Well, that didn't work at all.
San Francisco's weather patterns are just a little too fickle.
Which is why we went with manufactured rain in the first place. Here we are now, we're out of time.
Sounds like we need some help.
Tori, Grant, come on. They gotta wear the gimp suit.
Oh yeah, these things.
Had to be a superhero.
Did you guys wash these?
No, it's all right.
Great.
So it's down to the build team to take on the challenge of concluding this soggy saga. Although they're not exactly thrilled at the thought.
Why are we doing this again? Didn't Jamie and Adam already do this experiment?
Yeah, but they made their rain. They took a warehouse and it was all man-made, so it was really, really consistent. We're working with some random Mother Nature and see if we can get a different reading.
And so why aren't they doing it?
Because they don't want to get wet again?
That's my point.
37.5.
It's a good point, but those are your orders. So they mark out the 100-foot course, the same length as the original experiment. But it's hardly raining cats and dogs.
Let's just stay on rain watch, and the minute it starts getting, we'll be ready to go, like, get all the stuff into the point where you could just, like, jump in the GIMP suits and go for it.
To the GIMP cage. Just like...
This is such a strange feeling.
They don the sweat barrier rubber.
Don't say anything.
And then their pre-weighed overalls. This time, one will run and one will walk simultaneously.
Yeah, look at you.
So they're exposed to the same rainfall.
All right.
All right, you ready to go to work?
All right, who's doing what first?
All right, we got a chart here.
I am walking first, and you are
I
running.
am running.
Okay.
Correct. And go. And stop.
The suits are off and weighed. And the result? Tori's gained 10 grams in his 24-second walk, and Grant's went up by 8 grams in his 10-second run.
Okay, so test number 2. You're running, I'm walking.
Yeah.
Ready.
All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
And they're off. Except it's not exactly a tropical monsoon. With the weigh-in, Tori's in for a surprise.
It's lighter than before I went out. How is that possible?
It's just not raining hard enough to overcome the margin of error. But then, the heavens open. The race is now on.
I am walking, you're running. You ready? Ready, set, go.
These guys are troopers. They're not going to let a little rain dampen their parade. It's a long, saturated, and sometimes miserable afternoon for Grant and Tori.
Go.
But after 4 more tests, they've got enough results to satisfy their critics.
So, how'd you guys do? Did you get a lot of runs in?
We did 6 different runs, and our results actually contradicted yours.
Really?
Yeah. We showed that the runner gets less wet than the walker.
Yeah. In fact, on average, we found that the runner collected 4 grams less water than the walker.
Well, you've got a larger sample size, and I guess it may be that some artifact in our artificial rain skewed the results. So I'm okay with saying that this myth is actually confirmed.
I guess it is better to run than walk in the rain. Good work.
Hey, thanks.
So, exploding cola cans.
Yeah, this is a variation on the biscuit bullet story that we did.
Well, we already revisited that one. We're getting pretty postmodern now when we're revisiting a revisit. What did we screw up on this one?
You mean, what did you screw up?
The first time around, the MythBusters put dough in a hot car to watch it explode.
Oh, no!
For the revisit, they used aerosols and cola cans, but got no pops from any soda. Success only came via a 300-degree oven.
Oh, yeah!
But Adam was just too impatient. He wrapped the car experiment too early. Cola will explode at 140 degrees, but it just takes time to get there.
So, it is possible for a soda can to get hot enough in a car to explode. Mea culpa, myth confirmed.
Oh, is that it?
Actually, no. We got so much response to this. One fan even wrote in and said, what color of car would the MythBusters recommend for them to buy to prevent this from happening?
What will save you from those nightmare summer heat waves when sweat runs free like a Swedish sauna? and the baking tarmac turns a TV dinner into toast. What will relieve the endless discomfort and stop soda cans exploding? A white car or a black car?
I've got two identical cars here. One white, one black. They're completely the same, inside and out. The only difference is the color. We're gonna leave them out in the sun all day on a beautiful sunny day and see which one of these heats up faster.
All right, the thermometers are set. Let's start the experiment.
Okay, it's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm going to check the temperatures on both the cars, mark them down, and come back in half an hour to see if there's any change. This one's already 88. Black car's already heating up faster.
As the sun soars in the sky, this one's gonna fry all day. Back home on the range, there's no rest for the wicked. Having been blasted but not blown away with a shotgun, Buster is hauled up for the 50 cal. With his head and leg back on, the team also add the half-inch thick steel so that the full force of the 50 cal is transferred to Buster's center of gravity.
Did you see the 50 caliber bullets?
That's rad.
It's like the Acme Bugs Bunny banana bullet.
That's huge.
They're little missiles. Are we gonna get a chance to shoot, I wonder?
Actually, no. That honor falls to its owner, Brian, even though he's yet to have a chance to shoot it.
Why haven't you fired it yet?
Well, it's too powerful for most of the local ranges, and the property I have to shoot it at is a swamp for 6 months out of the year.
Are you excited?
Oh, yeah. It's kind of hard having this sitting at home and just looking at it day after day, night after night. Not that I really do that, but it sounds cool.
Note to self, turn down invitations to Brian's place. It's Buster's last stand.
3, 2, 1.
That was awesome.
Buster's down for the count, but he's not blown away.
That one rattled my bones. I still feel it.
But how much of the bullet's lethal momentum did he absorb?
Well, let's see.
Oh!
The round hit Buster right at his center of gravity and pierced the plate.
Look at the deformation on this. That is a lot of kinetic energy.
But where did it end up?
Oh my God.
Wait.
Lodged in his spine.
Is that it?
That's the bullet.
Buster took the force of the 50 cal and still just slumped.
We had 100% of the kinetic energy on Buster, and he still did not fly back. I would say that this is busted, busted, rebusted, and busted.
Well, yeah, I'm satisfied by looking at this. Let's check out the high-speed footage.
He went back a full 2.5 inches there.
If that.
He's not flying back.
No.
No, that wasn't flying back. Can we put this one to bed, please? Does anyone else have any goddamn suggestions for getting this one right? Because I think we got it.
Well, you know, let's just say you don't want to get shot by a gun, you know, but it's not going to throw you across the room for whatever little that's worth. And so stop doing it in the movies. If it doesn't make any sense, it just looks fake.
That's because it is. The fly-by-wire boys do it every time. But catch an older movie before this trick was invented, and everyone just slumps. And the final nail in the coffin of this myth comes courtesy of Newton. His third law states that any action has an equal and opposite reaction. So if Buster was going to be blown away, then our sharpshooter would have to be thrown an equal distance backwards.
You know, I never cease to be amazed at how riled up people get when they think we've gotten something wrong. And I'm glad we redid Blown Away, but I don't think we came up with anything too radically new with it, do you?
No, and you know, we again talked to an expert. We talked to a guy from the FBI that is a crime scene investigator, and he verified that this just doesn't happen. It's busted again.
The next revisit is an awesome account of amateur aviation by one hell of a lucky builder. When blown off the roof, he transformed a piece of plywood into a parachute and carefully touched down a few stories below.
So Plywood builder, what are the fans saying about it?
Well, it sounds like they're saying that we didn't take into consideration updraft.
Well, we did consider that, and we used the zip line for that. And it was pretty clear to me that unless you had clamps for hands, you know, that plywood was going to get ripped away with any significant wind.
Before the zip line, Adam and Jamie first did their average Joe test. But Buster, armed with plywood, simply plummeted to his death. But when they tested the effect of wind, viewers felt the speed they reached was too slow. Even though at only 15 miles an hour, controlling the board was impossible.
Oh, forget about controlling this thing. There's no control. I mean, I tried pushing my head up against it. At the peak, I could not get it. It's just like all over the place.
So, Jamie, what's the plan?
Well, let's just keep it simple. Let's just use the back of your pickup, and you know, we'll strap you in there. You'll hold on to the board and get it up to speed, and you want to see whether changing the angle increases the lift on the board, and also at what speed you can no longer hold on to the board.
Yeah, it sounds real safe.
They're abandoning the slow zip line test and trying to drive this myth into the ground. Tori's building a support system for the back of his truck, which he'll strap himself into while holding a piece of plywood above his head. Then Grant will put the pedal to the metal to see if Tori can get any plywood lift.
Just hold the plywood like this, see how long I can hold on.
All that remains is for Tori to secure it to his truck.
It doesn't slide back from side to side. It's not sliding, but look, it's sliding this way. That would be a bad thing.
That would not be so much plywood builder as the roadkill builder.
Maybe I could just screw into the bed. Is my truck. I'm not going to do that.
But sure enough, that's what he does. And for the ride of his life, Tori heads to the airport.
What we're looking for are two things. One, by varying the angle of attack, can he get lift? And two, at what speed can he no longer hold onto that sheet of plywood?
Well, as they unload, Tori's struggling to hold on at walking pace.
I don't know. I think this is going to hurt.
Everything we're about to do has all the elements of disaster. I mean, we've got Tori, who always ends up hurting himself, and somewhat of a sketchy plan.
But Tori seems unconcerned, even though it's his neck on the line.
I think it's more than your neck on the line.
Sweet.
Safety first, dude.
It's party time. Who's putting it on?
But a cup's not all he needs for this crazy stunt.
Ready?
You got that hurt. Oh, dude, what are you doing?
Sorry.
And I'm the mean one.
Suited up, Maverick Tori gets strapped in and feels the need for speed.
I'm ready. Let's go. Bring on a fly.
Meanwhile, which is hotter, the white car or the black car?
So it's 10 a.m., 1 hour into the experiment. The white car is at 106.
Okay, and the black car is at 115. I'm actually amazed how fast the temperature's going up in these cars.
Already there's a 10-degree difference, but this myth has yet to get its fingers burnt.
So what's next?
We get to revisit explosive decompression.
Oh, that's one of my favorites. I thought you had really good findings on that one.
Well, we got a lot of email to the contrary.
Adam and Jamie thought they'd proved that a gunshot will not cause a pressurized plane to explosively decompress, as Hollywood would have us believe. But some fans weren't happy because the MythBusters did their tests on the ground. They argued that in a flying plane, the results would be different. air would rush over the bullet hole and exacerbate the pressure difference, which might be enough to help rip the plane apart.
We do have a remnant from the previous experiment, and that is a door, and it even has a hole in it.
Oh, that'd be perfect. What we could do is build a chamber around the door, stick that in the wind tunnel, and blow some air over it.
As long as you can clearly see whether air passing over that hole creates a significant suction.
Tori's rescued the DC-9 souvenir door, and he's building an airtight chamber around it. Once it's complete, they'll fill this chamber with smoke before putting it in a wind tunnel. Then they'll crank up the wind to mimic air moving round a plane, and watch to see if any smoke is sucked out of the bullet hole in the door.
It's perfect.
With the DC-9 chamber box signed, sealed, and delivered to the wind tunnel, it's time to get smoked up.
To make this experiment much more visual, we're going to fill Tori's acrylic box with smoke bombs. We've got two kinds. We've got one professional smoke cookie, and we also have a little of those cheap smoke bombs that you can get in Chinatown, just for a little color.
You can always count on Carrie to bring that feminine touch to the MythBusters. Well, ain't that purty? With the fan off, no smoke escapes because the pressure inside and outside the box is equal. So what happens with the fan on?
And look at that.
Look at it.
It's
Starting
pulling
to suck
it out.
air out. All right, that's cool.
And then we stop it, and the smoke stops coming out.
So that's cool. All right, so it's working.
Sure enough, the wind draws the smoke out of the box. But why?
Once we turn this fan on, air is rushing past the top of the box, right where the hole is, creating a low pressure zone. And since air is always going to flow from high pressure to low pressure, the smoke and air inside the box is flowing out of the box as the air rushes over it.
But because the escaping smoke is such a pathetic trickle, the team decide to see what the airspeed is.
Okay, we've got 4.6 miles per hour.
It's not very fast.
That's not very fast. The DC-9, what does it have, 561 miles per hour?
We're gonna need to go a lot faster.
I think we need some faster wind.
Tori is about to see if he can soar like the Plywood builder, but the omens are not looking good.
Tori, you can't see it right now, but there are 3 vultures right on the runway.
Tori's ready to find the angle of lift and maybe fly with the vultures.
In 3, 2, 1, go! 15, 20.
To get lift, Tori's got to get the board above his head and angle it into the onrushing air,
35.
which is being measured by this anemometer. But already the speed is so fast, he just can't get it up.
There he goes, and it's off. 45 miles an hour, he cannot hold on any longer.
At 45 miles an hour, Tori got about as much lift as a lead balloon. But as they retrieve the bruised board, he's had an idea that may just help.
Tori, what do you want to do this time?
What I'm thinking is maybe I'll start off with the plywood above my head like this, and as you guys are picking up speed, I'll lower it down into the wind and see if I get any lift.
Okay, this is test number 2 with plywood. Starting in the horizontal position this time. Go! 10, 15, 20.
He dropped it at 15.
Well, if Tori was the original plywood builder, he'd now be dead.
What happened?
Well, as soon as, like I had it up here like this, as soon as it started lowering, gravity took over and it just like, it came down and like chopped me.
Tori gets further padding and is ready to shoot the breeze again.
You ready?
Ready.
And Tori's motivation?
3,
Letting go of the board means death.
go! 10, 15.
And it's gone. It's looking like this myth is busted again. Tori can't hold on, let alone get any lift at just 15 miles an hour. But gusts around buildings get way higher than that.
The American Society of Civil Engineers reports that updrafts around tall buildings in U.S. cities can reach up to 90 miles per hour.
May not ever look like it from down below, but towering skyscrapers can funnel a gentle wind at street level into a fierce gale at the top.
90 miles per hour seems like a lot of speed, and that would definitely give a lot of lift on a piece of plywood. But you have to figure the faster it's going, the harder it is to control.
And so far, Tori can't even control it at 15 miles per hour. They need a new plan.
Well, Jamie, another classic that the fans said we completely screwed up was when we tested the myth that it's more fuel efficient to drive with your windows down than with your air conditioning on full blast.
At 55 miles an hour, the gas computer showed that AC on was more efficient. But in the identical car test, at 45 miles an hour, open windows won hands down, and the MythBusters screwed up by deciding this was the accurate result.
I'm totally surprised, and I hope we've answered it once and for all.
But it turns out both results were right. As you go faster, open window drag increases until you reach a speed where AC is more efficient.
And it turns out that that crossover point is just right between our two tests at 50 miles per hour.
So above that point, it's better to close the windows, use the AC. Below that point, roll your windows down, turn the AC off.
Exactly.
At the automobile oven.
All right, it's 1 o'clock. We're 4 hours into the experiment. It's still hot as hell. What do they read?
126 on the white car, 135 on the black.
The black car is a whopping 135 degrees, while the white seems to have peaked almost 10 degrees lower. As the baking continues, Tori's got a date with a flying builder. The Plywood Builder revisit is driving Tori crazy, but luckily, Carrie's had a brainwave.
The whole problem is I'm fighting gravity the whole time.
I think that's actually the one thing that our viewers will still contest, is the fact that it's hard to hold a plywood 4x8 above your head anyway. So I'm thinking it would be a good idea if we could take out that variable, maybe make a brace on the back that you can just kind of let it rest on, so the only thing that you're going to be fighting is just the wind.
By making a support, the team will eliminate gravity. Now, Tori won't have to hold the board. Instead, he'll hang underneath as he waits to get lifted up.
This is perfect.
Go! 10, 15, 20.
Tori's dangling beneath the board. And then he's lifted. But once more, he can't hold on.
30, it's done, it's done, it's done, it's done, it's done. That was crazy. Yeah! You got up to 39.6 miles an hour. After 30 miles, you just flew.
I think that was a very accurate test. Because I mean, I had all my weight, I was hanging on it, it actually lifted me up, but then it ripped out of my hands.
So you lifted, but you couldn't hold on.
I couldn't hold on.
I think we have Plywood Builder down. I think this is beyond criticism at this point. We've taken out the gravity factor. All we're dealing with is wind, and you couldn't hold on.
I feel like we've actually proven something here.
So how did it go?
It actually went really well. We showed that with the right angle with the plywood, you could get lift, and I did actually get lifted. I just couldn't hold on to the plywood.
That's pretty much what we determined the first time we did this test. We know there's going to be high-speed winds at the top of reasonably tall buildings. We know that they're going to give some lift to the plywood, and a lot of the fans were right about that aspect of it. But really, it all comes down to whether or not you can control this plywood and direct your flight, which you can't. So this one's busted again, right?
Busted again.
Totally busted.
Good work.
Thank you.
Back at the explosive decompression revisit, the build team have had the wind sucked out of them.
So how'd it go with the suction?
We got a little bit of a trickle, but I mean, it wasn't a lot of suction at all.
What was the wind speed?
4.6 miles an hour.
Well, there's your problem. Well, it sounds to me like you need to get it going as fast as you can in the shop with what we have around here, and try to get at least 3 data points so we can see if there is any correlation between outside wind speed and suction.
Will air speeding over the bullet hole increase the pressure difference to cause explosive decompression? Time to collect some data. For data point 1, Grant adds some streamlined acrylic to get the max speed from their fan. Meanwhile, Carrie's made a barometer to tell the pressure difference the wind is causing.
Each inch that the water moves represents a 0.03613 difference in PSI.
The fan's on, and thanks to Grant's efforts, the wind speed is 5 times faster.
Wind speed 19.1. Are you seeing any change?
It's a tiny, tiny little change. I'll mark it.
So the difference in pressure is
0.002 PSI.
That's not very much.
No, I think Adams had more explosive farts than that.
they need faster wind again. So they resurrect a precious blast from the past, Adam and Jamie's jetpack.
If there is one scratch, one out-of-place bolt on this jetpack, Jamie and Adam will lock us in a closet for the rest of the season.
Here we go. Ready, coming down.
It's the moment of truth. One scratch, and they're off the team.
I'm good here.
The Eagle has landed.
And she landed. Woo! Nice.
With the jetpack ready to blast the wind tunnel, the team attach a zinc fuselage extension to make the airflow more like that of a flying plane.
In 3, 2, 1. In 3, 2, 1.
The jetpack was never famous for being the most reliable machine.
Hate gasoline engines.
Maybe priming the carburetors will help. If it doesn't work now, Jamie will be far from happy.
Ready? In 3, 2, 1.
She's awake, but she's disappointingly weak. Even at full throttle, the wind speed over the bullet hole only reaches 38 miles an hour. And the barometer, it moves half an inch. That's a feeble 0.02 psi. Hardly ear-popping stuff.
It's not even close to the cruising 561 miles that we need to get to.
I mean, we could probably get faster speeds if we strap this into somebody's truck.
No sooner said than done. For data point 3, after Tori's attached the rig to his truck, he'll hit the freeway fast. But, of course, he'll keep it legal.
I don't think we're going to be able to drive, you know, like the 90 or 100 miles an hour that I wanted to, because it's not legal. But, you know, we'll be able to get it up there, maybe 65, maybe go a little bit over 65.
The team hit the road. As they look for a section of flat, empty freeway where they can do their test, Carrie's getting road rage.
Ooh, don't you know we're doing important scientific work here?
Her backseat driving does the trick, and Tori opens up the gas.
Okay, I'm going up to 65. Here we go.
Airflow reading 65, scooping into 70, and the barometer is reading an inch to an inch and a half.
Their third piece of data, 1.5 inches, 0.05 psi.
We go up to 85. Let's do 85.
Yeah.
Time to call it a day before Tori does anything he might regret.
So what'd you get?
We did manage to get 3 data points, and they do show a correlation between wind speed and suction at the hole.
Basically, as the wind increases, so does the suction, but the suction is still really tiny.
I've done the math on this, and A bullet-sized hole at altitude, traveling at 500 miles per hour, would only generate about 1.4 psi. If you add that onto the pressure differential that you and Adam already tested,
which was about 8.5 psi,
even that still wouldn't be enough to cause explosive decompression.
That means it's busted.
Again.
Again.
In the car park cook-off, there's been a devastating technical fault.
Carrie, what's wrong with that clock? It's not moving.
I think the sun fried it.
It's so hot, it melted the clock.
Luckily, they've got an emergency replacement.
What do the temperatures say?
White car maintaining at 126. Black car, 131.
And as the sun crawls across the sky, the team keep toiling until the shadows start to lengthen.
Okay, final half hour. What are the temperatures?
All right, Carrie, the white car is at 115 degrees. And the black car is at 120 degrees.
The last temperatures are in. Time for some conclusions.
We kind of figured the black car would get hotter, and it did, and it stayed hotter than the white car throughout the day.
So 10 degrees hotter, stays hotter longer. What do you buy, a white car or a black car?
Well, if you're concerned about heat, you should buy the white car.
Definitely, you should get a white car.
This one's relative to a story we did earlier called Car Capers, where we were shooting a gas tank with a rifle and trying to make it explode, and that did not happen. However, we got grief from viewers saying, well, you should have used a tracer round, that had set off the gas tank.
That's not the myth that we were busting. The myth in Hollywood is that every bullet plus any given gas tank equals an explosion or a fire.
Adam's Hollywood effects equation was spot on. But when the MythBusters tried to solve it, shooting rounds into a gas tank just turned it into Swiss cheese. There were no sparks, no ignition, and certainly no explosion.
If there's anything we could be faulted for, it's not doing the classic MythBusters two-prong attack on a myth. We did not test the results. What kind of round will you get an explosion or a fire with? And that is a tracer round.
But aren't tracer rounds illegal?
Indeed they are, mon frere. Unless, that is, you have friends in the FBI.
At Alameda County Bomb Range, their FBI friend Frank is on hand to help.
Frank, are these our special bullets that you procured for us?
Yes, these are .223 caliber tracer rounds.
Well, what is it that makes them work?
The orange tip of the bullet contains phosphorus. When the round is fired, the friction with the air makes the phosphorus burn, which is why they glow and why they could ignite a gas tank. So it's a good job the fire crew is here then.
Of all the permutations, what's the worst possible case scenario for you guys?
I think the worst possible scenario at this point, due to the moderate winds and dry conditions we have, a fire starting, igniting, going over the hillside.
So wayward bullets could spell disaster.
All right then.
Sharpshooter Jamie is clipped in.
Okay, I'm loading.
And he's going to start by firing a single tracer into the half-filled gas tank.
3, 2, 1.
Think you hit it?
I don't know.
Adam goes in to take a closer look at the damage.
Well, he hit it. That's for sure. Right down there, about 7 o'clock here. I can smell gas fumes, but obviously nothing caught on fire. Well, I guess what we got to do is plug these up and go for several rounds now.
It was a direct hit, but no explosion. Grant seals the wound as Jamie gets ready to unleash, this time, a whole clip of bullets into the tank.
Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole! 3, 2, 1.
Jamie begins unloading rapid fire. Direct hit after direct hit. but no explosion. But then, trouble.
Did you see that tracer shot up into the field?
Yeah, I did. Hold on a second. There's smoke in the grass.
And I can see gasoline pouring out the front of the tank.
A tracer popped up into the field.
The range is shut down. Fire plus leaking gas, not ideal. So the fire crew get in to investigate.
They said the worst case scenario is grass gets on fire, grass through fence that can't be gotten through, wind heading that way where vehicles can't go.
Worst case scenario, and it happened.
How does it seem? Seems all right?
I don't see any smoke.
All right, cool.
They're off the hook, but the myth ain't so hot.
I've had my fun working off a full clip of incendiary rounds or tracer rounds here. I say, you know, you guys pick your weapons.
Ammo all around.
Those will be for you.
Both of them?
Sure.
Sweet.
To silence the critics, they're going for broke. If this doesn't cause an explosion, nothing will.
Okay, is everybody loaded?
Loaded.
Okay, safety's off. Fire at will.
It's like General Custer's last stand, but with tracer rounds. And the tank? Nothing. Nada. Zip. This myth is surely busted again. 75 gunshots later, and the tank's got more holes than a donut shop. But Jamie wants to try once more with the tank further away.
The reason being that these tracer rounds ignite from air friction, and understandably, you know, they're probably not going to ignite right as they come out of the barrel. It may take a little distance.
So they reposition the gun point another 50 feet back and top up the tank. With Grant safely out of the way.
And 3, 2, 1.
As the rounds fly, it's the same old story until, at last, we have fire. The high speed shows the moment of ignition. And who knows, if the tank was not like Swiss cheese, there may have even been an explosion.
The tracer round will, in fact, ignite gasoline in a tank. And if you had an enclosed tank, pressure plus fire plus the correct air-fuel mixture equals explosion. So I'd say we call this one confirmed, and everyone can go home and rest easy.
Why didn't we get an RPG? It would have been a lot faster.
That's the next revisit. Someone's going to write in and say, you guys should have used an RPG because that would definitely have blown up the car. And then we'll go get one of those, and then we'll blow up the car, and then there'll be some other problem.
And we're fine with that.
I don't know how to actually call this one. We busted it the first time. We confirmed it the second time without somehow reversing our previous results. Tracer rounds will blow up a gas tank.
It's a Myths Revisited special.
This may look like a salami, but it's rocket fuel.
As the team goes head-to-head with disgruntled viewers. First, they're resetting their sights on splitting an arrow.
He hit this dead on.
Then the bullet into water myth sinks to a new depth. And finally,
whoa!
The famous Confederate rocket gets a meat makeover.
Damn, I'm lighting salamis, man. I'm making a rocket out of meat.
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage.
Ants are all over my head, man.
And Jamie Heineman.
Gets me all worked up just looking at it.
Between them, more than 30 years special effects experience.
That was heavy.
Joining them, Grant Imahara.
Go get him, boy.
Tori Belleci.
Whoa.
And Carrie Byron.
That was crazy!
They don't just tell the myths. They put them to the test.
So we're about to do one of my all-time favorite things we do on the show, which is a revisit episode. And I mean, no other show that I know of ever comes to a conclusion that they are willing to reverse upon further investigation. And every time we do this, I think we come up with even better results and we silence our critics.
I don't know. I think it's just a lot of whining. What do we have up this time?
Bullets fired into water is a good one.
Bullets fired into water. We also have,
Confederate rocket?
Confederate rocket.
Okay.
And there's one more.
The most controversial, I have to say, has got to be splitting an arrow.
The amount of vitriol in my mailbox about that one is just crazy. So are we going to silence them this time?
Not only did we get it right the first time, but this time we're going to make you sure of it.
Well, in that case, splitting an arrow seems like a good place to start.
I can't believe how much controversy Splitting an Arrow episode brought up. It's ridiculous how many people are on the message boards telling us that we screwed up.
I know. I mean, they had a problem with almost everything. With the bows we were using, with the shafts we were shooting into, and with the arrowheads. I mean, I don't know. Was there anything they didn't have a problem with?
The costumes?
Yeah, I had a problem with those.
The outfits were the one thing the fans didn't mind as the team tested another costume drama. In Robin Hood, Errol Flynn made it look so easy.
He split Philip's arrow.
A split from knock all the way to tip. And a split second later, the crowd went ballistic.
Yep, ready? Yep.
But when the MythBusters emulated Errol, their long shots were a bit of a long shot.
Nice grouping, Grant.
So they did a point-blank test, which still didn't seal the deal.
Oh, that happened.
But according to viewers, the team used the wrong bow, the wrong arrowheads, the wrong arrow shafts. The fans think it's still possible.
Well, let's do it their way this time. We'll take all of their advice, and in addition, we'll have our researchers dig up information on making our own arrows in the period materials in the way that they did it at that time, and see what happens.
So for this revisit, our sharpshooters are going to listen to the fans as they build fully authentic medieval arrows, starting with the shafts. According to a Friar Tuck load of fans, to split an arrow, it must be made of perfectly straight-grained timber. And would you believe it? One viewer has donated the perfect piece.
Our wood was sent to us all the way from British Columbia. From Boards by George, he hand-picked out every one of these pieces to have the straightest possible grains. Instead of just telling us we did it wrong, he's actually participating in this revisit. I love that.
As well as I. I love it too.
Good old George. But what is it that makes this cedar so special?
As you can see, it's splitting all the way down the length of the wood. If we make arrows out of this is going to be our best chance of splitting an arrow.
An arrow that has the grain running straight through it is, so the fans reckon, ideal. But to get the arrows even more on the straight and narrow, Carrie's going to steam them into shape. And her steam box has got that certain feminine touch.
I brought a few things from home. I brought this, which is for facials, and it makes steam. And this is a home hair curling kit, which is also to make steam, which, if you're a girl, I'm sure you know exactly what these are. And if you're a man, you just think I'm crazy.
They're going to add the 30-inch long traditional shafts, turn on Carrie's feminine charms, and hey presto, they should get some dead straight grain arrows. Which means that Tori and Grant can get to grips with how to fire them.
Here on MythBusters, we like to reinvent the wheel, and apparently we chopped up our last robotic arrow firing machine to save space in the shop. So we need to build it again.
The guys thought this myth was so busted that they busted their Aerobot. So now they've got to make it anew. But Aerobot 2 will be slightly different so that it can fire a more authentic Robin Hood-type weapon.
We've gone from using a compound bow to a longbow, which is more traditional. We're trying to, you know, keep the circumstances the way they would be if you were, you know, splitting an arrow.
And talking of arrows, Carrie's adding the finishing touches.
I'm preparing the fletching for the arrows. It is the little feathery end of the arrows that keep it steady in flight. From the reference material we have, it looks as though in the Middle Ages that the feathers that would have been used would have been goose or possibly peacock or swan, most commonly goose.
While Carrie has a gander at the fletchings, Tori's getting to the sharp end.
I'm gonna forge my own arrowheads. The thinking behind it is, since it's heavier than the modern day arrowheads, it might have a better chance of splitting the arrows, kind of like an axe would split a log.
But, as ever, Tori's taking a few shortcuts.
Sorry to disappoint you, but I'm not using a forge. I'm actually using an acetylene torch.
He's making an armor-piercing tip called a bodkin, which was the most common arrowhead of Robin Hood's time.
Yes, I know they didn't have steel grinders back in the old days, but if they had had them, they would have used them.
Seems like he's got an axe to grind with those angry viewers.
And there you go, an arrowhead. Now all we have to do is split an arrow.
But first, there's one final thing to finish these firers, strengthening the knock.
So what I've got here is a goat horn, and the idea is that you put a split in the arrow and take a sliver of this horn, put it in there, and whip a string around to reinforce.
The reinforced goat knock is the last addition to make the arrows completely Robin Hood compatible. But ironically, this may actually hinder the arrow split attempt. A perfectly straight-grained cedar arrow may well split when hit dead on, but the goat horn in a traditional arrow could be so hard that it might block the path of the fired flyer to make a split impossible. But historical accuracy is what viewers wanted, so the strengthening horn is going to stay. And to complete the quest for authenticity, Tori wants to use the homemade darts not just as the target arrows, but also as the fired flyers. But that will only work if they fly straight and true.
So we just finished building our arrows EOLD style. My feeling is that when we fire these things, they're probably going to explode on impact because the wood isn't that strong.
Well, why not do a test fire?
Firing in 3, 2, 1.
A bullseye it ain't.
Huh. Oh, wow. Well, it looked like a strong firing.
Yeah, they don't fire so straight, though.
Not so much.
How the hell do we get it at that angle? That's what I want to know.
It looked almost like it hit something on the way out.
Maybe it hit the fletching.
Yeah, it's possible.
The authentic arrow is about as accurate as a Scud missile. But because the team still wants to use them as both the splitter and the splittee, it's going with the point-blank test straight away. And Tori's in charge of the high-tech aiming system.
Ready?
Ready?
High speed ready? Go.
3, 2, 1.
Whoa. That was cool.
It was right on the money, but there was no split. The force from the bow broke the fired arrow in half. So for test 2, they're going to try a stronger, modern arrow, still aiming at the authentic target.
Go.
It's a tougher arrow, but the same result.
Oh, shoot.
The modern firer's as bent as a $3 bill, yet the target arrow is virtually unscathed. To get the elusive split, they're going to need a plan B. The next revisit is from the explosive Confederate rocket, where the MythBusters went ballistic. Adam and Jamie built, aimed, and launched missiles made out of Civil War-era technology. But try as they might, they found that even their souped-up hybrid retro rocket couldn't fly the mythical 120 miles.
Here it goes. So you guys are revisiting Confederate rocket? How come? I mean, didn't your last 3 rocket systems work perfectly and you busted the myth, right?
When we were doing the original, we came across a piece of information that we had to have a crack at.
Apparently these hybrid rockets are so simple and effective that they'll run off of just about anything, even a Salami.
So you guys are gonna fuel these rockets with Salami?
Yep.
Bet.
When it comes to rocket fuel, the MythBusters like to think outside the box.
It's got to be one of the stranger things we've ever done. I mean, I'm about to chuck a Salami into the lathe.
Sure is strange, but these hybrid rockets are so efficient that apparently any hydrocarbon, even Salami, can be fuel.
This may look like a Salami, it may smell like a Salami, may even taste like a Salami, but it's rocket fuel.
While the fuel is going to be a little off the wall, everything else about their rocket is going to match their Confederate rocket blueprint. That MythBusters missile was split into 2 halves. The bottom section contained the paraffin wax fuel, which, on ignition, gently smoldered until the top half's liquid nitrous oxide was added with explosive results. This time, they'll keep the same burn-enhancing NOx oxidizer, but replace the wax fuel with a string of sausages. And that's not the only change, because this time, there's no need to stick to Civil War-era technology.
Yep, that's about perfect.
They can make their Salami rocket a little more refined, starting with the launch system.
3 switches. One's going to be the fill shutoff. One will be the quick release removal of the filling hose. And the third will be the launch button.
They next want to modernize the way they fill the tank with nitrous oxide. Because last time they struggled to tell if it was filling at all, and disconnection was rather dicey.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I knew I was going to do that.
So now they're going to put the tank under vacuum and draw the nitrous oxide in.
What I've got to do here is pull a vacuum on this tank and see whether it actually sucks a sufficient amount of water into it, the same volume of which we'll be intending to pull in nitrous oxide.
It's an ingenious idea, but one worth testing out with water pre-launch. Success! The MythBusters adore a vacuum. Come experiment day, they'll now be able to completely fill the NOx tank to ensure max thrust from the Salami. But does Salami have any thrust to give? Cue engineer Roger McCarthy.
Good, how are you?
Roger's no stranger to meat myths. When Adam and Jamie hammered out the myth of the disappearing sniper shot, their ice bullets got nowhere fast. Luckily, Roger was on hand to recommend they turn their attention to frozen meat instead. But now he's here to talk baloney.
So, Roger, have you ever heard of a hybrid rocket using a Salami as fuel?
Well, quite honestly, I've never heard of a rocket using the Salami as fuel, but they have enough nitrate in them, and nitrate is a key ingredient in many, if not most, explosives. So the question is, can you get those nitrates into the chemical reaction? If you can, it won't take much to make things a lot more exciting.
Well, I'll be darned. From what you're saying, maybe we'll have too much energy from this new fuel.
If you can engage those chemicals in this reaction, and that's the part I don't know, you will have more energetics than just straight paraffin.
So, according to Roger, Salami may shoot for the moon yet. Spurred on by this progress, the MythBusters race ahead with the final touches to their lunch meat launcher.
There's your rocket nozzle.
That's beautiful.
With the nozzle in place, the team joins up the 2 halves of the engine.
That is so light.
a shiny rocket hull later. And that is that. One hybrid rocket with nitrous oxide as the oxidizer and Salami as the fuel.
Okay.
Go for it.
And
that is great.
okay.
I love it.
It sure is lovely, but will it work? Well, before heading to mission control in the desert, Jamie and Adam are first going to put their meat missile through a lockdown test fire at Alameda.
You got your, your pepperoni, you got your salami, you got bologna.
So I can't get a veggie?
No veggie rockets. Sorry.
How much liquid?
Pyrotechnician Jack Morocco is here because he has a license to pack black powder.
So Jack, can I set you up with helping us manufacture the Salami rocket engines?
Absolutely. I just hope I don't get too hungry.
If the Salamis are going to burn explosively when the NOx is added, they first need to be on fire, and a small coating of gunpowder should do just the job.
Let's just see what it does.
All right.
Okay.
Ready to go?
Whoa!
Yeah,
8 salami rolls later, and it's time to play hide the sausage.
Well, there's the first engine going in.
They're wrapping them in paper because they want them to fit snugly in the rocket.
3.
This should make sure that all 8 of them burn evenly.
Last one.
With the motor packed and loaded, the rocket is locked down so that it can ignite but can't take off. And then it's all systems go.
This is another one of those things where you just run through so many of the safety procedures and so many of the systems in your head that every now and then you have to remind yourself and go, damn, I'm lighting salamis, man. I'm making a rocket out of meat.
But will it make mincemeat of this myth?
This is proof of concept static test of the Salami rocket. I'm gonna release the nitrous oxide.
Off she goes.
All right, in 3, 2, 1, launch and shut off. What was that?
The rocket is gone.
No way.
No, not gone up in the air, Adam, but gone to the dogs.
Oh, whoops.
Did it blow up?
Yeah. The engine's gone.
No.
Their notorious PIG wasn't a rocket, but it sure was a blast. The place looks like a massacre in a deli. Time for a post-mortem.
What I saw when Adam pushed the button was that there was flame coming out of the bottom of the rocket. That meant that the ignition worked, the black powder worked, and it lit. And then there was a pause when the nitrous oxide was opened. And then it was just gone.
Amazingly, the Salami fuel was too powerful. As it burned, there was an excess of exhaust, and the pressure built up until kaboom! For the boys to get some pastrami propulsion, it's back to the drawing board.
Let's get some brooms and start cleaning up this carnage asada.
Yeah, there's meat everywhere. It's disgusting.
Back with Splitting an Arrow, the team is going crazy with deja vu as it attempts to bust this myth once again. Despite making the most splittable arrow possible and using a traditional bow with a 90-pound draw, their point-blank shot failed miserably. And Grant knows why.
At that range, we're putting a huge amount of force on the arrow, and that's why they're either breaking or, in the case of the aluminum arrow, bending. So I think we actually need to go back to doing a range test. Let the arrow fly. That way, we're not pushing on it to try and push through the other arrow.
With their point-blank test shafted, the archery range is the perfect place to test this myth once and for all. And as in their recent test, they're going to use their authentic arrows as the target, but modern arrows to fire.
The important thing is that we're using the replica arrows as the target arrow, because it's really not going to matter the arrow that goes into it. Half as much as it matters that the arrow it's going into is made with period materials.
Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
Close, but not close enough. Of course, they can only split the arrow if they actually hit it. So they dial in the focus.
Here we go, 3, 2, 1. You know, I think we hit it because it's definitely off target.
Sure enough, this time they got a direct hit, but no splitting. And that's the same story for their next 5 fires. Hit after hit, but no knock-to-tip split, which is all a little familiar. When these guys first tested this myth, they filmed something surprising. Straight as an arrow is not how arrows actually fly. They bend and wobble through the air, which makes getting a split almost impossible. The same thing is happening here, but the team got too many vitriolic emails to abandon this myth now.
Somehow I feel like this has happened before.
Deja vu? Something reminding you of something? Like we may have done this once?
Come on.
They're not giving up without a fight. We couldn't do a Myths Revisited without one gun story, so here it is.
So, bullets fired into water. What did we do wrong with that one? I thought we did great.
You did do great, but the viewers, in addition to all that testing, would have liked to have seen us fire guns underwater.
Oh, that might get past the bullet hitting the water deceleration problem that we were having.
It's another opportunity to break out the guns, I guess, huh?
Last time, the MythBusters broke out guns galore to see if bullets really are stopped by water.
This is the M1 Grand 30 caliber at 2 feet.
And the results were surprising. The more powerful the gun,
this kills you and everyone else in the room.
The more ineffective the bullet in water. Fans were happy with these findings, but now want to know whether guns actually work when submerged. To find out, Tori, Carrie, and Grant are going to build a water trough, drown their weapons, and see at what distance they penetrate a block of ballistics material. But at 30 foot long, the trough will hold over 3 tons of water. And that's got Tori worried.
My biggest fear is that we fill this thing up with water and the thing just explodes. But that would be cool, so I don't know if it's a fear or it's a hope. It's one of those.
While Tori decides whether he wants his rig to work or not, Carrie's putting the finishing touches to the target.
We're using a ballistic substance that's almost like waxy because it won't be affected by the water, which our gel would start to dissipate and dissolve.
They'll put this ballistics block in the water trough before shooting at it with the MythBusters arsenal.
King Cobra. 6 Hour P239, 9mm. M1 Grand. And a personal favorite, 12-gauge shotgun.
Of course, there are special forces guns, like the Glock 17 or the SPP-1 that can fire underwater. But this myth is about regular weapons like these. Will any of them shoot from the hip when submerged in Tori's newly reinforced, water-filled trough?
All right, that's good. And you guys doubted me.
There's just one thing to do before the shooting match, and that's some ballistics calibration.
We're about to fire a BB into our ballistics material. By the depth of how far this BB can get into there is basically going to be a control for our bullets. The BB will penetrate the skin, so if any of our shards of bullet or any of the rounds can go as far as the BB, then we'll know it would have penetrated the skin.
And if any penetrate further, then that's a lethal hit. So, what's the result?
That's as far as this went in.
Okay, so we'll call this 1/4 inch. So any deeper than 1/4 inch is potentially lethal.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
With the ballistics target calibrated, they lower it into the trough.
Perfect fit.
Nice work.
Then, under the supervision of Rangemaster Stephen Liu, they make sure the guns are at the ready, starting with the 9mm.
All right, here we are, main event. We're about to fire a bullet underneath the water. What I need to do is I need to open the chamber of the gun and make sure there's no air at all in the barrel.
The gun must be air-free because otherwise it could explode if the bullet passes from air to water inside the barrel.
Okay, we are loaded and ready to fire.
For each gun, they want to know two things. Over what distance is it lethal? But before that, will it even fire underwater?
9mm, first shot. 3, 2, 1. That looked cool. I think that might have made it all the way.
That was rad. The whole water just like leaped up.
Yeah.
I think it went far.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. I'd say that was about 18 feet.
18 feet.
And the bullet is perfectly intact.
One thing we're just kind of skipping over is we've just proven that you can fire a bullet underneath water.
Oh, you're right.
So right there, it's confirmed. It's possible to shoot a gun underneath water.
Test 1's passed. A 9mm will fire underwater, but as Grant discovers, it won't reload.
So check it out. When I was resetting the ransom rest, I found the shell casing caught in the slide.
It didn't eject the bullet.
No, because it relies on the pressure.
Right, and you have that water on top of it.
So
if you're shooting underwater, you only have one shot to kill the bad guy.
Yeah, you better get it right.
So you've got one shot, but over what distance is it life-threatening? In the original story,
Okay, this 9mm pistol at 8 feet.
Adam and Jamie showed you'd have to dive 8 feet to survive a shot from a 9mm. When it's fired into water from air.
Whoa, no, that didn't go all the way through.
But what about when it's in the water to begin with?
From the barrel to the ballistics material, we're 10 feet. We're going with another 9mm round full metal jacket.
In 3, 2, 1.
Another fire, but was it lethal?
So it didn't even have the penetration of a BB.
No,
Not lethal.
not at 10 feet. All right, why don't we do 2 feet, see what happens there.
Great. 9mm at 2 feet.
Oh, yeah.
But this time, when they look for the round, there's a problem. It's nowhere to be found. There's no obvious hole in the ballistics material.
Oh, it's the magic bullet.
It's a disappearing bullet.
It disappeared.
And it's not tucked away in the trough.
Don't see it in here.
It's all a bit of a mystery.
Anywhere.
At 2 feet, we couldn't find the bullet. So what we're going to have to do is dissect the ballistics material block at the end of the experiment and see if we can find it. Right now, we're going to move on to the 357.
There's no time to stop and search. With the light fading fast, the team must crack on with the rest of their weaponry.
Okay.
357 Magnum full metal jacket in 3, 2, 1. Was that a bigger boom?
I don't see a big hole.
Bigger boom, same problem. The round is nowhere to be seen.
No bullets.
The 357 sure works underwater. But its deadliness is going to need some further dissection. In the Confederate rocket revisit, Adam and Jamie have had a Salami setback. Their mythical meat missile was more of a baloney boom.
So how'd the Salami-powered rockets go?
It didn't go. It catastrophically failed on the launch pad.
Well, that doesn't sound like a failure, but I guess you do need to make a rocket, so what are you gonna do next?
We learned that there is enough energy in a Salami to cause an explosion, so that means there ought to be enough energy to launch a rocket. We just need to refine it a little bit, and I had the thought that we could possibly make a smaller version using paintball gun tanks that we could get together pretty quickly.
So they're shrinking things down to 2 small paintball tanks joined by a valve. The top tank will be filled with liquid nitrous oxide, and the bottom stuffed with a solitary Salami. It's a mad rush because the boys are well behind schedule. Luckily, the advantage of this new design is that it's easy to put together.
Rocket nozzle.
1 Salami later, and the new rocket is ready. But this time, they're also going to make several backup rockets, each of which will have a different exit nozzle to try to maximize the chances of a launch.
If we run one out on the stand and it blows up, we can go with a bigger nozzle. If we use a big nozzle and it doesn't do anything but it just fizzes, we can use a smaller nozzle. This ought to allow us the number of tests required to prove that this can work.
But it's not just rocket motors they're making. This new design also needs a new stand, new switches, and a new launcher. And after 4 sweaty hours...
You think we're ready to pack out?
I think we're ready.
At last, for the great Salami showdown, it's off to the middle of nowhere. Previously, Adam and Jamie investigated whether bullets are stopped by water when shot into it from air. But what about when the guns are also submerged? Well, Tori, Carrie, and Grant have found that handguns do fire underwater. But until the ballistics block is dissected to find the bullets, their deadliness is unknown. But right now, it's time for the big guns.
Just washing my guns.
When Adam and Jamie fired their shotgun into water, they found that it was deadly at a distance of 10 feet.
Jesus, wet, Jamie.
That's definitely a lethal hit.
But what about when the gun is already under?
Okay.
Shotgun at 10 feet underwater in 3, 2, 1.
Just like the handguns, there's fire in the hole, but this time there is a difference.
Dang. Oh, look at that. It cracked all the way.
The gun has exploded in half.
Now, do you think that's because there was air in there somewhere, or it's just a really bad idea to shoot a shotgun underwater?
I think it's a bad idea to shoot shotgun underwater.
I doubt seriously there's any air in there.
What a shame.
So, shotgun hunting underwater?
Busted.
With the shotgun sunk, there's one rifle remaining.
Up next, we have the M1 Garand, which actually has the exit velocity of 2,700 feet per second, which is basically like 3 times the energy of any of the guns we've shot today.
Last time, the super-fast M1's bullet disintegrated virtually on impact with the water. But now, when under, will it make you drown your sorrows?
M1 Garand in 3, 2, 1.
That was a good one.
The gun's in one piece, but the bullet.
Here's the bullet.
Right there?
Yep. So.
What is that? What is that, about 6 feet?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Around 6 feet. Unless you're point blank, I don't think this thing's lethal.
I mean, it fell at 6 feet.
Yeah, and it didn't even make it to our target.
This time, the bullet hasn't shattered, but it's still been rendered ineffective by water.
I would say, though, it's pretty intimidating. I think if somebody was shooting one of those at me underwater and saw that explosion, I'd still be freaking out.
Frightening for sure, but just a few kicks away, and the water will prevent the M1's bullet from spilling your blood. But can the same be said of the handguns?
We're back at the shop now, and we've taken our block of ballistics material, and we need to dissect it because we didn't find any bullets or any bullet holes, and we want to find out if there might be one lodged in there that we can't see.
You guys find anything?
No. There's no holes. There's nothing.
Okay, let's take this off and just start cutting into it.
Slice and dice?
Yeah, sounds good.
It's a careful operation as the team carves off one layer at a time. But it's beginning to look like the handgun rounds didn't even make it in.
And there's nothing in here.
Looks clean.
Yeah.
Until...
Wait. I feel something.
Hey. Hey! There it is.
It's the 9mm.
It's the 9.
It's the 9.
I'm 2 inches from the back, which means it penetrated 4 inches deep.
That's lethal. Well, let's keep cutting it because we still don't have the 357.
The 357 Magnum is more powerful than the 9mm, so the team keeps cutting deeper.
Hey. Here's the other one.
How deep is that?
Wow, that went.
Oh, whoa.
That almost went all the way through.
All the way.
I would say that's about 5.5, 5 3/4 inches.
Yeah.
So at 2 feet, the Magnum, like the other handgun, will send you to a watery grave.
So guys, bullets fired underwater, how did you do?
Well, Jamie, you can actually fire a handgun or a rifle underneath water.
But not a shotgun.
What happens to the shotgun?
Blows up.
My young friend, were they lethal?
Neither of them were lethal at a distance of more than 3 feet.
It's actually more lethal to fire into water than underwater.
So, what are you guys going to call this? Busted, plausible, or confirmed?
Confirmed. You
Confirmed.
can fire a gun underwater.
Yes.
Well, nice work, guys.
Thanks, Jamie.
Back with splitting an arrow, the team has fired over 30 shots. But so far, the authentic handmade target arrow has failed to split it all. And Tori thinks he knows why.
Should we take the horn out so that, we're giving ourselves the best chance of splitting this arrow?
Yeah, we could certainly try that. I mean, that's how it was described in the historical text.
Let's just try to make our critics happy, because I'm tired of arguing with them anyway. Might as well take out the bone, so that if it really still doesn't split it, then we could go, ha!
As predicted, the traditional horny knock is so strong that the fired arrow gets diverted off target. So Grant's taking out the horn, which may help split the arrow, but makes this experiment no longer Robin Hood compatible.
There's your problem.
And that's not the only change. For this test, they're also going to add a whole host of target arrows. This bunching should ensure they get a direct hit.
3, 2, 1. It hit him, but it deflected up.
Again.
There's no split as the arrow snuck its way through the bunch target. But the team aren't quitting as they keep giving it their best shot.
3, 2, 1.
At least that is until Aerobot starts misfiring. 2 shots in a row miss the bunch completely, and that means it's time to call in the big guns. Salami sure is popular. 2,500 tons of this innocuous-looking meat medley is eaten every year. But can it do more than just power our bodies? Can it fuel something altogether more spectacular? Well, the MythBusters have come to the middle of nowhere to find out.
It's dawn, it's freezing, and we're back on the original launch site of the Confederate rocket, except this time with a Salami-powered rocket.
Yeah, we know from the first test that we did that the energy is there. Hopefully we figured out how to harness it in such a way that it actually propels the rocket instead of explodes it. So, what do you think? Shall we get into it?
Yeah, let's just go.
All right.
Just like at Alameda, they're going to position the rocket 500 feet away, crouch behind safety glass, and hope for the best. But this time, they've got a secret weapon. Rocket expert Eric Gates is here to help them. Eric is a regular Mythketeer. It was his rockets that gave the thrust to the famous rocket car. And without him, a full 360-degree ride around a swing set would have been impossible. This time, he's already altering Adam and Jamie's plans. Eric wants to replace the black powder ignition system with modern hobby rocket fuel. And as usual, he can't resist a demonstration to show why.
Your black powder is a quick flash, whereas this AP will burn for about 3 or 4 seconds with the constant heat to get the fuel hot for the nitrous.
Okay.
So if you want to push that button.
3, 2, 1. Oh, that's beautiful. That's what I wanted to see. It's making a nice jet down the throat of even that small donut, which will ignite the length of the sausage.
The hobby fuel should do a much better job at setting the salami alight before the NOx is added.
Neat as a whistle.
And as for the NOx, they've abandoned the vacuum filling system as they fill her up the old-fashioned way. A fancy finned rocket hull later, and she's taken to ground zero.
Everybody is aware that we're about to go hot. Over.
Go ahead and make the system hot.
Here in Mojave, the MythBusters have flight clearance up to 50,000 feet. So how high might this pastrami puppy soar?
What's going to happen? I give it a 20% chance of blowing up right on the stand, about a 50% chance of launching somewhere under 20 or 30 feet, and the rest is that it's going to go maybe to a couple thousand feet.
What we have to get here is an actual flight. Personally, I'm not going to be satisfied if it just gets off the launch rod and goes 10 feet in the air. I mean, technically that's a flight. I think it's going to go hundreds of feet, if not thousands of feet in the air.
Okay, so this is a Salami rocket with a 1/2-inch nozzle, firing in 3, 2, 1. Boom. Hey! Look at that! 20 feet, man! What did I tell you? I don't care, man, what anybody says. That was a Salami rocket, and it flew. Everything else is immaterial.
Fly it did, but this being MythBusters, we can't leave it at 20 feet. In Split Arrow, Tori, Carrie, and Grant have been giving the Robin Hood myth their best shot. Yet, whatever they've tried, singles or bunches, they've failed to split even a hair. But they've got one more trick up their sleeve. And here he is, Jim Long.
This is great. I mean, that was one of the things that the viewers were saying is, why don't you get a professional shooter in?
I know, this is working out perfect.
This is it.
Jim is one of the best archers in the land, and this myth is now down to him.
He knocked the sticker off the end.
It's a pretty good start from our Robin Hood wannabe, and the team goes in for a closer look.
Did it split it at all?
You took out the fletching on this side.
And you split a little bit of the wood.
If that's his sighter, what's he gonna do when he gets his eye in?
There goes the other feather.
He's good.
The arrow's getting shredded, but not split. Jim's pinpoint accuracy allows him to get hit after hit, but even he can only get partial splits at best.
It's hitting it, just getting deflected.
Until...
Dang.
Ah, it's brutal.
Oh, look at that.
We got a split.
Look at that, almost like 10 inches long.
That's about 1/3 of the way down the arrow.
It's taken over 60 direct hits to get the biggest split yet, but it's still only 1/3 of the arrow's length.
I think this is the closest we'll ever be able to come.
Yeah,
to splitting it. I mean, look.
Okay, I mean, it came in very, very cleanly. You can see it following straight down the grain till it gets to about here. And then it starts to go off kilter. He hit this dead on.
I mean, we can do this all day. I don't think we're gonna get a better shot than this.
How can you get a better shot than dead on with
I mean,
carbon fiber arrows?
Yeah, there's no way.
It's busted.
Given that the team made the most splittable arrow possible, and a whole day's worth of fires have failed to yield a knock-to-tip split, this myth is busted again. So, how did they do it in the movie?
So we're switching to bamboo because we think that in the Robin Hood movie, in order to fake the splitting arrow, they used something with a hollow core that looked wooden, and bamboo is very close to that. So we're gonna try it out.
Did Robin Hood use some movie magic? Let's take a closer look. Slowed right down, the target arrow sure does look hollow, and the rings on the edge are very similar to bamboo. Of course, bamboo originates in Asia. Robin Hood did not fire arrows like this. But can the team split this completely unauthentic, movie-inspired shaft?
Got it, buddy.
That is what I'm talking about. Jim, you are the man!
Nice
Firing.
They cheated, but got what they wanted. A knock-to-tip split that looks nearly identical to that from the movie. And what's more, it took just one arrow to get it right.
So, on Splitting an Arrow Revisit, we followed all the viewers' advice. And what was the result?
I mean, we gave them what they asked for. We made our own arrows. We had a traditional longbow. We even brought in a skilled archer who hit it, and he couldn't split it.
After we were at the range and we saw how the bamboo split right down the center, and we saw how we couldn't get into the cedar arrows more than 10 inches, I think the movie used bamboo.
And as we know, anything's possible in the movies.
That's right.
Is it busted?
Still busted.
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 Civil War rocket.
The MythBusters are revisiting Confederate rocket.
Ignition. There it goes.
In that myth, their ludicrous launch exceeded all expectation. So far, the same can't be said of their revisit. Their first Salami rocket was rather sorry for itself. But all is not lost. To try to get a little more altitude, the team is going to give it one more go with a new nozzle that may better focus the thrust. And that's not the only change.
You know, the main criticism we got for our first Confederate rocket launch was that we did not have sufficient camera coverage. People complained that we didn't cover the rocket's flight and that we didn't have an onboard camera.
You have to remember that this was an experimental rocket, and we had no idea that it was actually going to work. I thought it was going to blow up. Well, for those viewers that want to see some of that kind of fancy footage, here's some from Eric Gates.
Eric Gates, rocket expert and cameraman. And luckily, Eric just happens to have brought his rocket camera with him. But will the new Salami rocket reach an altitude as high as this?
We got a junkyard rocket, man. This is fire number 2 with onboard camera.
It's got all the gadgets, but will this Salami rocket break the 20-foot record?
In 3, 2, 1. It didn't go even as far as the first one. But it went up! Hey! All right.
On ignition, the nozzle blew out, so there was nothing to focus the Salami thrust. And the onboard camera blew too, but it was mission accomplished.
I'm actually not at all surprised that Salami works really well as a rocket fuel. No doubt ours could be better. We need a little more refinement here and there. But the beauty of the hybrid rocket is that it'll burn just about any hydrocarbon, and it'll burn it aggressively enough to serve as a rocket fuel. So, you know, we could have gone to the moon with Salami.
The moon? That's only 240,000 miles to go.
So, Salami rocket is busted, plausible, or confirmed?
Hey, a flight's a flight. We got airborne, so it's confirmed.
Salami does seem to make a pretty good rocket fuel, but I'm gonna stick with paraffin.
Okay.
I'm taking this back home.
He's tired now.